So there's just a few things I want to comment on before we meditate. And one is to say that you people have been quite an amazing group, and just the self-honesty that you have, and the ability to look at your lives and to to really explore the Dharma in a very deep way. You've been quite an incredible group in that way. And I know that sometimes it's been hard and there's been a lot of button pushing, but that's all very good. Okay? And you've all survived. Yes, please remember that. Because sometimes in retreat you go through a really hard time and you think, oh, this is just, I'm not going to make it. So it's good at the end to realize you did make it, and I've seen people just, through talking to you at the appointments, just see people really doing very, very good Dharma work, in their practice. So, I want to say thank you for that because it's quite wonderful. And then another thing I just wanted to make really clear, because this is something that people can often get confused about. When we talk about renunciation, we're not talking about renouncing happiness. Okay, repeat. We are not talking about renouncing happiness. And nowhere did the Buddha say happiness is bad, or it's wrong, or you shouldn't be happy. Okay? I mean, the whole premise, why did the Buddha become a Buddha? Before, he was just like us. Why did he do all this work to become a Buddha? It's because he wanted to free himself and others from suffering. He didn't become a Buddha to free himself and others from happiness. Yeah, we have to remember this. He did all that work so that we could have happiness. And so the path he's teaching is showing us how to have happiness. It's not teaching us how to give up happiness so we can suffer. Who needs to follow a spiritual path in order to learn how to suffer? Think about it. Does that make any sense? No. We know how to suffer all by ourselves. Yeah? So Buddha in no way is teaching us to give up happiness and to suffer. Okay? So what we're renouncing is suffering in all of its different forms, from the ouch kind of suffering to the ephemeral happiness that at the end of the day leaves us dissatisfied. Okay? So that's happiness, that's fine, but it's ephemeral. And we all know the experience of what happens when it goes away. Okay? So, so the Buddha's trying to show us how to really actualize all of our human potential. And not just stay as limited beings all, like this with our guilt and our, he's trying to show us how to use this incredible potential that we have. And, and be of the greatest benefit, not only to ourselves, but to all others as well. Okay? So it's quite important to remember this. Because the word renunciation can sometimes be difficult. We think, oh, renounce means give up. Oh, okay, well, my chocolate's the first thing to go. Oh, no. No, I cannot give up chocolate. No way. I can't be a Buddhist because the Buddha's asking me to give up chocolate. Well, actually, I didn't see that in any of the precepts. Okay? Otherwise, I wouldn't be a Buddhist. I'm joking. Okay. But if you look at people like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, he has complete renunciation. Is he a miserable person who has no happiness in his life? You know? I mean, most of you have been to some kind of teaching by His Holiness. He's been a refugee since he was, 24 years old. You know? And he's renounced. And does he look like an unhappy person who just can't bear life? No, he looks like quite the opposite. You know? Somebody who has a lot of joy and is approaching life with just this incredible joy, you know, and being of great benefit. And he has renunciation. Okay, so, you know, when we renounce suffering and its causes, then it opens up so much space to us. Okay? So we have to be very, very clear about that. You know? Okay? In the same way, when we're talking about the disadvantages of self-centeredness, we're not saying that we're bad people because we're self-centered. I never read that in the scriptures either. Okay, that's something we import. Now, the Buddha just said, we're self-centered. We all know that already, don't we? You know, yeah, I'm self-centered. The Buddha said, does that make you happy? You want to be happy. Does being self-centered make you happy?
No.
Yeah? And so he just asked us to examine that. And one part of our mind says, no, it doesn't make me happy, and another part says, well, but I don't want to give it up because then I'll be really unhappy. You know? And so what that's showing is that our understanding is, you know, it's still small. But, you know, we can develop that understanding so we get to the point where we actually see it and like, oh, I'm not afraid to give up my self-centeredness anymore because now I'm really convinced it doesn't make me happy. You know? Like right now we're kind of a little bit convinced, mostly up here but not in here. Yeah. But then, so we give ourselves chance to grow, chance to think about the teachings more, and slowly, slowly our understanding deepens. Okay? But nobody's saying that we're bad because we're self-centered or because we get angry or because we have attachment. Yeah? Nobody's saying that. Maybe we're saying it to ourselves. But I've never heard any of my teachers say that, and I haven't read it in any Buddhist scriptures at all. Okay? So, you know, we have to be careful not to add something that isn't there. And thereby make ourselves quite miserable. Mm-hmm. Okay? And then also, it's important to practice in a consistent way, but a gradual way. You know, it's called stages of the path for a reason. There's stages. There's steps. It doesn't say, jump over everything and get to enlightenment tomorrow path. Okay. It's not called that. It's called stages of the path, gradual path. Yeah. So we practice slowly but consistently. Yeah. So when you go home, you know, you're already in the habit from this last week of meditating morning and evening. So just continue the habit. If you have to shorten it a little bit, that's okay. You know, do what's practical for you, do what works for you. But you have a habit now, and it's a good habit, and it's nourishing you, and so keep it up. You know, we really have to respect the spiritual part of ourselves, yeah, and respect that and nourish it and feed it. Not just feed our body, but feed our heart in here. And so to make that a priority in our life, so we never forget to eat. Yeah, so that's, you know, we should pay that much attention also to our spiritual practice. So have some quiet time alone each day to do your meditation, or to sit and read and just think about life and look at your mind. Nobody's saying you have to be busy 25/8. Okay? We're the ones who make ourselves so busy. No? We don't have to be that busy. So, it's just a thing of priorities. That's all. Just a thing of setting up priorities. So I think, you know, a way to really respect ourselves and a way to really be kind to ourselves is make our Dharma practice part of our priorities. Because we know we feel better when we do it. Right? We know. And our family members know. Yeah? I just got a letter recently. I can't remember who it was from. But I've heard this so many times anyway. That it was a father, and I remember who it was. And he told me his little boy, he said, "Daddy, you're awfully crabby. Please meditate some more." Yeah? So, you know, it helps our family, and it helps the people around us. Okay? So really think about that. And, you know, it's been a very intense retreat, so when you go home, don't feel like you have to, well, first of all, don't turn on the radio in the car, you know. But, you know, enter quietly and, you know, do some practice tonight. And don't feel like you have to tell everybody everything that happened on the week, you know, the first or second time you see them. Yeah? Because remember, they've had a week, and they want to tell you about their week too. Yeah? And then also some of your things you want to really see who is interested. Yeah? And so you tell people according to their level of interest. Yeah? And then other things, maybe you keep in contact with the people in the group afterwards. And I was hearing that at the end of the concentration retreat, I gave refuge and precepts, and Cheryl just told me that little group of like 4 or 5 people, they're writing emails to each other a lot, you know, just you know, sharing their experience and encouraging each other, and it's really wonderful when you do that. And I know Zopa, when she lived in Portland, you tell the story, what you did with Bobby.
Oh, yeah. I met a wonderful Dharma practitioner, Bob Wilson, at Cloud Mountain, and we found out we were both from Portland. We didn't know that, but we lived on different sides of the city. And we wanted to keep in connection, but we didn't want to drive 30 minutes. We would have for teachings, but not to meditate in person with each other. So Bobby had this great idea to do telephone sangha. So he, for I think it was 6 years, 2 to 3 times a week, we would call each other and then put the phone down, and then, but keep the line open and do a half-hour meditation with each other. We take refuge on the phone, put it down, do our meditation, pick it up, do dedication, and set our next time. And we did this for 6 years. And I'm sure it's a part of me being here. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, because the thing is, sometimes if it's just up to us to get to the cushion, I don't feel like it. Mañana en la mañana, you know. But if we're meditating, we have a friend who's meditating at the same time, like that, then we do our practice. Yeah. We had another friend who lived in Florida, and for many years he practiced at the same time that the Abbey did, because it made him feel like he's part of the Abbey community. So he did the same practice, meditated at the same time, you know, and it helped him so much in his practice. Yeah? So, you know, kind of before you leave, think about, you know, how you want to continue on when you go home, and then really make that a priority. Okay? And then there's also the retreat from afar this winter, where people do one session. We'll be doing several sessions here, but you do one session at home, and then, you know, you can access the teachings that are given during the retreat and everything too. So that's a very nice way to stay part of the Abbey community and keep your practice in a very consistent way. And last year we had how many people?
More than 300, including me.
Yeah, more than 300 people doing retreat from afar, and about half of them, over half, were inmates. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We have feedback from people who do it every year, that they say it's the best time of the year for their practice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's cold outside, so you know you don't want to go to the beach, and you know, it's very cozy staying at home meditating. Okay. Good. Okay, so let's do 3 mantras and have a period of silent meditation.